Hi, hello everybody. So I'm happy to see you all here. Obviously I don't see you, but I know that you're here and today is Friday evening. So I'm happy that anyway you found some time and inspiration to join me today for this webinar. And so I can see in the chat that we've got people from Kharkiv, Kyiv, Stolbunev, Odessa, Rivne, Donetsk region. So that is wonderful. My name is Olga Koval, and so today we will talk about creative tasks and project tasks in online lessons, but this information will also be useful for teachers who teach offline. And so I will start with introducing myself, but I would like you also to share some information about you in the chat, like to get acquainted with each other. So while I'm telling about myself, you can listen to me and also put to the chat like where you are from, how was your day, also if you are teaching now, or maybe you've got your summer holidays already, so that would be really interesting to know. So my name is Olga. I'm a senior teacher and a methodologist of Green Country ESL School Network. Also, I am one of the authors of our textbooks for the speaking course, and also I'm an editor of the learning materials for students for Green Country and Tokencloud. And about organizational moments. So I'm sure that you know that after the webinar, you will be able to get a certificate. So after the webinar, you will get a link. So you will get an email to your email address, which you used when you registered for this webinar, and you will get a link to the test. So to get a certificate after this webinar, you will need to pass the test. And you need to get a minimum 75% of correct answers for the certificate to be generated. And also, you will get a link to a small article in which like all the information from today's webinar will be summed up. So it will be really easy for you to pass the test, I'm sure, and you can do it more than once. So actually, the number of tries is not limited. And I'm sure that everybody who wants to get the certificate will be able to do that. So after the webinar, you will get an email with all the links. And also after this webinar, you will see the links in the description box under this video, under the translation. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them to the chat, but I will be answering them in the end. So I'm not sure I will be able to answer all questions during the webinar. So if you want me to tell more about something or answer your question, you can remember it or note it down and put it to the chat at the end of the webinar. And also, so it's a webinar, so I will be talking a lot today, but I want you also to share your experience. So I'm sure that here we've got so many creative, experienced teachers. And so I will share my ideas today, but you're all also welcome to share your ideas with your colleagues in the chat. And so let's start. So we will talk about creativity today, creative tasks and projects, and also we will talk about group work online. That usually sounds scary, but it's not that bad, actually. So first of all, let's start with what creativity is. And now you're welcome to put your ideas to the chat. So you can write what associations you have with this word, or maybe a definition, like what is creativity, how you understand this. Okay, so I will go on to the next slide, but I will be looking and waiting for your answers. So if I'm looking somewhere down, it means that I'm reading your comments. And so obviously, when we hear creativity, we can have different associations. There are different definitions. There are different approaches to define what it is and how it works. But usually when we speak about creativity, we mean something unique. Yeah, I can see it in your comments. Yeah, so that is the ability to create something, to make something new. And you can see the definition from the Cambridge Dictionary on the slide. So creativity is the ability to produce original and unusual ideas, or to make something new or imaginative. And very often, like we can hear from other people and from our students when they say like, I can't do it, I'm not creative, so I can't create a presentation, I can't write an essay because I don't have imagination. And yes, so it is true that some people can be more creative than the others. And it depends a lot on the background, on the family, school, environment, friends, work, if we're speaking about adults. But it is important to remember that creativity is a skill. So it is something that needs and can be learned. And it works the same as with all the other skills. Like the more you read, the better you get in reading. The more you learn a foreign language, the better you get in it. So the more you develop your creativity and practice it, the more successful you will be. So let's discuss, is it important actually for our ESL lessons? I will show you some benefits which I notice in using creative approach to the lessons. And if you have more ideas, also you're welcome to share in the chat. Creativity is important for our ESL lessons, first of all, because language and communication itself is creative. So it is creative in its nature. When we communicate, when we use our native language, we always create some original texts, which are not prepared, so we just do it on the spot. And it happens naturally. But when we're speaking about learning a foreign language, it's not that easy. So our students need more support, and they need the environment for that. So when we give our students some creative tasks, when we ask them to write an essay or create a presentation or do a project, we give them a purpose to use the language. So there is no reason in learning the language for its own sake, just doing some exercise which does not have any real content or context or purpose. But when we use creative tasks, we give this purpose for our students to use the language in a natural way. So they have a task, they need to get the result, so they need to communicate and they need to use the language to get this result. And it's basically what happens in the real life. Also, that is important to mention such a thing as compensation. So when you are not really fluent in a foreign language and you don't know how to say something, you need to be creative. You need to find some other ways to express yourself. For example, you can mime, or you can draw, or you can use some other words to rephrase what you don't know how to say. And creativity helps here a lot to find some other ways to express yourself. So the emotional component is really important for our lessons because we know that if there is an emotional connection, or if we have a strong emotional association with a vocabulary item or with a grammar structure, a functional language chunk, it influences how we remember this information, how we process it. And creative tasks actually are emotional, so they help students create these emotional connections and remember the information better. Creative tasks are motivational and engaging for our students. Because it's always more interesting for us to do something or to talk about something if it is about ourselves. So projects and creative tasks, that is the space for our students to express themselves, to show their character, to show their interest and personality. And so it doesn't mean that, for example, my students like skateboards. So it doesn't mean that I have to ask them to do a project about skateboards. But if I ask them to do a project about a city, like create their own city, for example, so they can, in their own city, they can have some parks for skateboarders, or some shops with skateboards. So doing a project task, they can implement some elements which will reflect their interests and their personality. And often teachers notice that reluctant and disruptive students get more engaged so in projects and in creative tasks because so they can show who they really are, so they can open up from another side. So the next benefit is skills. So it's all about development of different skills. So again, when we ask our students to do a creative task, they develop not only their language skills, but also they have a limited time. They need to get these results. So they need to work on their time management. They need to develop their communication skills if they are working in a team. They need to develop their presentation skills because they will present their results in the end. And obviously, so they are developing their creative thinking skill, which is also really important. We have discussed with you why. And it can boost self-esteem. So the students see the wonderful results of their work. If you show a lot of interest, if you praise them, if other students show interest to their project, it boosts self-esteem. And it is really important for foreign language learners because when we don't know the language well, we're not really confident. So we need to have this boost in self-esteem to become more fluent, to become less scared to talk and use the language in the future. Okay. So now we know why it is important. Yeah, also you're welcome to share if you have some other ideas which I haven't mentioned. You're welcome to share in the chat, so you can tell maybe something what you noticed with your students or something from your experience. And so now we know why it is important, and let's talk how we can do it. So how we can make our lessons more creative and more emotional. Again, so if you have more ideas, please share them, so it will be more effective for you. Not only listen to me, but also share your own experience with each other. And how can our lessons be creative? So first of all, you can be a creative teacher. You can use some creative, some interesting materials, which will help your students to think out of the box. So it will help the students see something from another side, from another perspective. And the first thing which comes to our mind is to use some pictures or videos. So I've got like a nice example of a picture. So you can use it, for example, when you are practicing present continuous, or when you are introducing present continuous or past continuous to your students. So you can show an interesting, exciting picture to your students, and you can ask them to comment, to tell what is going on, or to make some predictions about it. And it will so encourage them to think and to be creative. You can start with some funny pictures or memes to introduce a new topic or a context. So why not to use such a picture introducing present perfect tense, for example? Yeah, you can show and you can ask your students to predict what has happened or what will happen in the future. Again, so they will need to use their ideas. They will need to analyze the information, and it will help build this emotional connection because the picture is really memorable. So one more powerful idea is to use Realia and physical space. So if you're introducing such a topic as colors, so you can ask your students to find something of this color in this room, or to name things which are of this color, or find something in their room and show in the video. You can do the same if you're speaking about clothes or food. And again, yeah, so your students will get more engaged. Also, a good idea is to use some photos. So you can show your personal photos, which will be really interesting for the students. Usually it is. Yeah, so if you are discussing the construction used to, so that is a good idea to show a photo of you in the past and ask your students to tell about the changes, like what has changed in your appearance. Or like if you're talking about a family, yeah, you can show a picture of your family and ask your students to guess who is who. Your students can share their pictures as well. And again, so it will create this emotional connection. Every time your students come across this word or this structure in the future, this picture will pop up in their mind, and they will be sure that they are using it correctly. Yeah, so I can see some more ideas in the chat. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good. And also, what can help our students to become more creative is a choice. So creativity is actually a lot about making choices, about making decisions, and about taking responsibility. So for some students, it is really difficult to be creative because they are not used to make a choice. So they are not used to taking responsibility. Yeah, because they do what the parents tell to do. They do what the teachers tell to do. But if you give your students a choice, at least in something, it will help break so-called blocks of creativity. So they will start taking more responsibility. They will start learning how to make decisions. And evidently, in the future, it might be easier for them to complete creative tasks or be creative. So you can allow your students to choose a partner for some tasks, maybe. It depends on the task, obviously. Or you can choose your students what game they want to play at the next lesson, or a place where they want to sit. If you're working offline, maybe a topic which they want to discuss, or a topic about which they want to make a presentation. So given the choice to students might be a little bit scary for the teachers, but it is absolutely worth it. And also, yeah, moving back to the topic of this webinar is project tasks. So if you give your students project tasks, it will push them to be creative, especially if the topic is really interesting for your students. Here you can see some examples. So just for inspiration. Okay, so obviously they are like the results of projects for offline lessons, but we will talk how to do it online as well. And let's move on and discuss what projects are, how we can use them, and how we can do it effectively. So first of all, like what is a project? We can say that a project is a set of tasks that students must complete to get a particular outcome or a particular result. So that's why it is different from some practice tasks. Because students practice a range of skills and language systems. But projects are usually more task-oriented than language-oriented. So they're useful for learning a language because we still have this language focus, but it is not on the first place. So the students don't practice some structures or some vocabulary items in order to learn them, but they practice them in a natural way in order to get this result, in order to create a project. So that's why, again, it happens more naturally, and it resembles real-life situations when we use the language to get a result. And so let's look at some examples of projects for English lessons or for ESL lessons. Again, so you're welcome to share more ideas. I'm sure you know more examples than I showed to you. So speaking about projects, it's usually about creating something new, and it depends on the topic. So you can ask your students to create their own animal, robot, city, school, and present it. So it can be basically anything. You're talking about animals, okay, your students can create an animal. You are talking about flats and houses, okay, your students can create the house of their dream, and whatever. Or you can ask your students to create a game on a particular topic. So it can be, if it's for online lessons, also for offline lessons, so they can create a quiz on Kahoot or quizzes or Quizlet, or they can create a board game. Yeah, so and when they create a game, they actually need to use like all knowledge they have on this topic, and they need to research for some more information. They need to use the language, and the result is very clear because after other students can play the game. So students will be really motivated to do this because they understand why, because other students will play it in the end. Also, that is a wonderful idea to ask your students to make a video. Again, it can be any topic. So, for example, it can be a video tutorial, like how to cook a sandwich, how to learn English, how to have a healthy lifestyle. So they can make a video about their hobby or something that they really like, or a room tour or a flat tour when they show what they have in their room and they name it all in English. Posters, that is also a wonderful idea. So you can ask the students to make a poster with some tips on how to become a YouTuber, maybe a poster about their favorite celebrity, or it can be a poster on any grammar topic or on any vocabulary topic. And again, it requires to analyze the information. And so creativity is all about imagination. So that's a wonderful project idea to ask your students to imagine that they are a millionaire, an astronaut, a pop star, a YouTube star, and tell about their typical day. Again, so the students will develop different skills. They will practice the language, and they will need to search for some more information. And in some textbooks, you have some project tasks. So I will show you some examples from the textbooks we use in Green Country. So for primary school, for example, we have such a project in our textbook. Like they need to make their own vlog. So first of all, they need to use the functional language to write the script. And after that, they actually need to make a video and they need to present it to the class. Also, like one more example, that is for teenagers, but it can be used actually for any age group. So students can write a recipe or they can create their own recipe. And so they need to follow a particular structure to do that. Or like to create a country profile. Again, so you need to analyze the information, you need to be creative, like to make the design, to choose the country you want to talk about. Yeah, so we will have a final result. So it will be this poster or this country profile in the format of a presentation or a video. Yeah, but if you are using a textbook or some materials where you don't have any ideas on project tasks, again, so be creative, think of your own ideas and implement them in the studying process because it is worth it. And we want our projects to be effective. So still, we are not like having our lessons for fun or just to develop some IT skills. Yeah, but we want our students to practice the language we are learning. So let's talk about how we can make our projects effective in terms of the language learning. And also in terms of the engagement of the students. So first of all, the topic must be student-centered. So it must be student-oriented and it must be relevant to the age, level, and interest of your class. So let's imagine you have a wonderful idea. You want your students to create a story in which the characters will be the characters from different movies and TV series. And you ask them to create a story about some characters from Friends, from Big Bang Theory, and some other series which you know. But it is not interesting to your students because like they don't know the series, they don't watch them. So when you choose a topic, make sure it will be for and about your students. Make sure that your students will be able to share something about themselves, something about their interests. Then they will be really engaged and motivated to do that. Also, it's really important to understand what is the target language. So what is the language focus of this task? For example, you are learning with your students some prepositions of place or some vocabulary connected to places in a city. Then you can ask your students to create their own city because so they will be able to practice this language. So it is always important to understand what language your students will practice in this task. And it's really important to tell your students about it, because if you don't, so they are likely to use some structures which are simple, which they already know and don't really need more practice with. It is important to think about time management. So projects take time, and you need to leave enough time in your lesson for your students to do it effectively. Because if the time limit is too short, then the students will not do it effectively. If the time limit is too long, the students might get bored, might start doing something else. So decide how much time you want to spend on it, and so plan your lesson so that you will be able to have this time. If your students are doing a project task, they need to present it. So they need to present it during the lesson. Again, so it's about timing and choosing the best ways for this. So you need to have enough time for the presentation. So there is no sense, and students can get really upset if they are doing a task, but they don't have a chance to present it to the others, to share their ideas. So make sure you have the stage, because that is really important for such type of work. So let's talk about the teacher's role. Project tasks require preparation. So you need to know what exactly and how exactly you want your students to do it. So you can ask your students, like you can say, okay, now you need to create your own city. You have 15 minutes, let's go. It is a project task, but will it be effective? Probably not, because like your students can get really confused. They can start asking you some questions on how to do it. And that is not like a really bad situation, because they will use language anyway. But they will spend like half of the time given to understand how to do this task rather than doing it. And we want to avoid this. So the preparation, the good task setting is extremely important for project tasks. So actually, it takes some time for teachers to plan everything before the lesson. So you need to spend some time if you want this project to be really effective for your students. So before the task, first of all, what we start with, obviously we need to choose the topic. And after that, we need to create a plan. So make a plan and a checklist of what exactly students need to do, mention, include, use in their project. Again, if we are talking about this project with a city, when students need to create a city, then the plan and the checklist for your students can be like your students need to draw the city, minimum 6 places. They need to write a description. You can also be specific and mention how many sentences they need to use minimum. And they need to prepare a presentation of their city to the class. So if you tell your students step by step what exactly they need to do, if you give them a plan, if you give them this checklist, they are more likely to do it effectively rather than if you just tell them, okay, do it. Create your own city. Also, before the lesson, you need to think about materials. So if you are having an offline lesson, then you need to think what materials students might need, and if these materials will be available in the place where you are teaching. If not, maybe you need to change something in the task itself. Or if you have an online lesson, then you need to choose an appropriate online tool, which needs to be appropriate, relevant to the level of your students and to their age. So ideally, a good online tool needs to have all features, all functions which you want to use, and also not to be too difficult for your students, because again, we don't want them to spend half of the time given for the project task trying to understand how it works. And yeah, so we have discussed that the language focus is really important. So it is not skippable, so we need to define it. So we need to define what language our students will need to use, what language we want our students to practice. Again, so it's important to mention that in this webinar, we are discussing projects as a free practice tasks or production tasks during our lessons. So we're not talking about project-based learning, because it's like a vast topic, it's very different, and we will stick to a more traditional approach today. So if it is a free practice or a production task, it means that, okay, our students need to practice some particular language in the free context. Also, you might think about the language your students might need like additionally. Again, so if we are asking our students to create their own city, probably they might need also structures there is their own. So it would be a good idea to practice the structures before giving the task, again, to make it more successful and more manageable for the learners. And problems. So when we have a project task, quite a few problems might pop up. So you need to be prepared for that, because it will be a pity if you have a wonderful idea and you have a plan, a checklist, the online tool, the language focus, but some problems occur and you don't know what to do with them. You don't know how to solve them. So we need to be prepared in advance. Like basically think what can go wrong, what can be the problem, what can stop your students from doing the task effectively, and try to find some solutions or some ways to avoid this problem. And it's important to do it before the lesson. Again, so let's take again the same example. Students need to create their own city. So the first problem that can happen is that students spend too long drawing the city and they will have no time to write about it or present it. And it often happens when our students need to draw something. So they get too excited and they spend too much time on it, but we don't have a drawing lesson. So actually it's not the main focus. So to solve or to avoid this problem, we can stage the task. So first of all, we can ask the students to draw the city and give them only this part, only this task, and set limited time. Like you can ask, please draw your city. You will have 2 minutes for this, and that's it. So after 2 minutes, ask your students to stop, get their attention, and then you will give the instruction for the second part, which requires them to use English to practice their language skills. Also, so it's just one problem, but there are many others which can happen. So when you are getting ready to a project, try to anticipate like 2 or 3 problems and try to find solutions, or try to find ways to avoid them, and good task setting will help you avoid actually a lot of problems which the students might have. So these are all the things we need to do before the task. Now, so we are in the lesson and we are ready to set this task. So let's discuss what we can do to set the task effectively. So first of all, plan your instructions and ICQs. Actually, there is one more thing you need to do before the lesson. So you need to make sure your instructions are good, that they are understandable, they are specific, and they include all the necessary information. So usually project tasks are really complex. Yeah, so your students need to do a lot of things. They have a lot of micro stages. And it will be really challenging to give this instruction on the spot. So if you can do it, like my congratulations, you're a wonderful teacher, but usually it is really challenging. And so some ICQs, some instruction checking questions are also needed, because if you give like a long instruction, a very specific instruction, so your students can forget some parts of the information, they can be not attentive. So you need to ask some instruction checking questions to make sure your students know how to do it, and it will not be a problem. And then when you ask them to start, they will start with doing the task rather than trying to figure out how to do it. And so that is a good idea to stage the instruction. So if your instruction has micro stages, like your students need to draw, write, present, then, especially with young learners, it makes sense to stage. So to give different stages, like small bits of this task one by one. So first of all, you can give them like the first part of the instruction. You can ask them, like, let's say, to brainstorm some ideas. You give the limited time for this. So they're doing just this one thing. When they are ready, you can ask them to draw and give limited time for this part, and don't give all the other instructions yet. So when they are ready with drawing, you can give the next bit of the instruction. So it will be easier for you. Yeah, it will reduce your TTT, and it will be easier for the students. It will also help with the time management. So if you are working with teens or with adults, and they are rather independent, you can give all the instruction at once, but then give a checklist to your students, like tell them what to do, show how to do it, and give them a short plan so that they will see which stages are included in this project. Show an example. It will be much easier for your students to complete the task if they can see some examples. If you want your students to create their own animal, that is a wonderful idea, to create your own animal and show it to your students. Like you can draw it, and if it is really ugly, that is okay. So that is fun. You can show your students that it is okay to be not perfect. So it will make your lesson even more emotional, because they will definitely remember this. Or you can show the examples or the results of projects of other students, or you just Google something. And give timing. So tell your students how much time they have for this task. Because like if you don't give the timing, your students will probably spend much more time than you want them to, or than you expect. So set the timing and try to stick to it. Also, time reminders will be helpful. Like you tell your students, okay, guys, now you have 10 more minutes. Now you have 5 more minutes. So you need to be doing the last stage. Now you have final 2 minutes. So get ready to your presentation. And now I will show you an example of an instruction. So here it is. Please read this instruction and so put to the chat, like, do you think this instruction is good? Do you think that this task so will be successful for the students? And if not, like, what is wrong with this? How it is possible to make it better? So I will give you like 1 minute to read the instruction and put your ideas to the chat. Is it a good instruction? And if not, what we need to change? What is wrong with it? Okay, so waiting for your ideas. Yeah, you can also type like what needs to be included to make this task setting better. Yeah, I say information is not enough. Yes. Actually, we don't tell our students how to do it. Yes, we tell them what to do, but we don't tell them how to do it. And it might be a problem. Okay, maybe something else. which is absent in this instruction and is really, really needed. No details. Okay, we can't draw about our city. Agree. Yeah, more details. Yeah, so you also have some ideas of staging this task or an example which we can add, and timing. Wonderful. So there is no timing. So the students don't know like if they have the whole day for this task, if they have 5 minutes. So it needs to be more clear. I agree with you. So actually that was a bad example. And here you can see a better instruction with staging. Yeah, again, it is possible to do it without staging and give all the information at once, but then you will need to give a checklist to your students and prepare some nice ICQs. So I will not read all the information from the slides. Like I will give you 1 minute to do it yourselves, and then I will just pay attention to some important parts here. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you for your ideas in the chat. Yes, it's all true. It all makes a lot of sense to me. And by the way, here in this instruction, in the second example, I would also include an example of the result. Yeah, so like how to draw a city, how to tell about it, etc. Yeah, so here, like staging will be helpful. Also, limited time for drawing, that might be important for young learners, for them not to spend too much time on it. Also, here we have details about the language focus. Yeah, so we tell them what structures they need to use, like use there is, there are, use prepositions of place, use the words from this unit. Also, we tell that all students in the team need to write in turns. So it is also important to mention because like we don't want one student to do everything. We want everybody to take part. And in the bad example, we don't have any ICQs. Maybe this instruction is too short and they are not really needed. But yeah, ideally, if you give an instruction for a project task, you need to check if your students understood how to do it. So prepare some instruction checking questions. And here, by the way, it's not the best example because you don't see the answers, but you know that when you prepare instruction checking questions, you also prepare the answers. Like you check yourself if the question is useful, if it is answerable. Okay, good. Let's go on. Okay, ready with the setting of the task. Then we can't relax. Yeah, we can think like, okay, now our students are doing the task, so we can finally relax, but no. So we need to be actively involved, but not disturbing. And first of all, we need to monitor. So monitoring is extremely important during project tasks because again it might be challenging for the students. Some problems might pop up, so you always need to be there. So you don't take an active part, but you are there, you are with your students and you are ready to help them if it is needed. If we are having online lessons, yeah, it is more challenging. If your students work in breakout rooms, if you use Zoom or if you use Google Classroom and you put your students in separate rooms and you can't see them all, you can't hear them all at the same time. So we need to monitor wonderfully, like to make sure the students are doing the right thing. And speaking about online lessons, it makes sense to have 2 or 3 rounds of monitoring. And the first one can be really quick. Like you join every room for a couple of minutes just to see if they are doing the right thing. Okay, yeah. First of all, you join every room and check if the students have started doing the task. If you can see that some groups are silent, then you need to help them. So you need to ask more questions. You need to give more examples and help them like start doing the task. So after the first round, when you are sure that all students are doing something, you can join every room again and stay there for a longer time. So during the second round of monitoring, you can pay attention to the language. You can note down some mistakes for feedback on accuracy after the task. Yeah, so that is tag delayed error correction. Also, it's important to let your students work independently. So try not to take part unless it's really needed and it is critical. So if the students are doing the task and they have their own ideas, they are different from your ideas, it's okay. So just let them go on. And finally, after the task. So after the task, there are the most important things. That is presentation. So our students need to present their results, and we need to choose how they will do it. So there are different ways. For example, students can present in an open class, in front of all the other students. Or you can send, you can shuffle the teams and you can put students from different groups together and they will present their projects in small groups. Also, it is possible to have not oral presentation, but ask the students to send their texts or upload their pictures somewhere, and you can ask other students to read. Make sure you know how your students will present the projects, and make sure that it is relevant, again, to the topic, to the age of your students, and to their level. And then feedback. So maybe the most important part. So after the task, we need to give two main types of feedback. First of all, that is feedback on content, and then feedback on accuracy. So we always start with feedback on content, actually, that is the time when we ask the students to respond to their ideas, or to share their emotions. So they were listening to their partners, to other classmates presenting their projects. So then you need to give them an opportunity to share what they think about it. So you can ask them what they liked about the presentation of another team, or you can ask them what could be changed, or maybe something that surprised them, but make sure you give them this opportunity to share and to react on what they have just heard or just seen. And after that, only after that, we can work on mistakes. Yeah, because again, so we don't forget, we have this language focus. So we need to help our students correct the mistakes. And especially, the main focus is the target language. So the target grammar, vocabulary, etc. While you're monitoring, you collect some mistakes, again, relevant to this topic. And after that, you can share the sentences with mistakes with your students. You can put them on a board, or you can just put them in a document and share your screen. And what is important here, help your students, really help, encourage your students to correct themselves. So eliciting will work better here than explanation. Yeah, so try not to explain at this stage, because it will not help your students become better in using the structure, but prepare some concept checking questions, some hints, and try to get this answer from your students. And okay. Good. So that is about the preparation in teacher's role. Again, so if you have more ideas, put them to the chat. I have a small delay, so I can see your comments a bit later, so I'm trying to monitor them. Yeah, and I like that. I can see in the comments you mentioned that it's a good idea to share the tasks between the students in a group. Yeah, and also you mentioned some information about grouping students, like putting students in groups for group projects. So, and that is actually the next thing we are going to discuss. So projects can be individual and they can be a group. There are some pluses and minuses, and it doesn't mean that one type is better than the other. So they're just different. When we speak about individual projects, we can say that they are more often used with young learners and low levels because they might lack the language to communicate together while doing the task. And so some topics are just more suitable for individual work. Like if you have to talk about your family, yeah, obviously, yeah, that's better to have an individual project. And speaking about group projects, yes, they are more challenging to organize. So the task setting is more challenging. You need to like spend more effort monitoring, but students develop the skill of teamwork. They communicate naturally because they want to have this result. They need to solve some problems which occur. They can exchange their ideas, and it also encourages peer teaching, which is really effective. So when the students help their partners, help their classmates with some things which might be challenging for them. And so let's talk how to make group work effective if we are working online. But again, so these tips, these ideas will be useful for offline lessons as well. And as you mentioned in the chat, so I was happy to see this idea, we can assign roles to the students because like we want all our students to be actively engaged, to be like doing something. So we can distribute some small tasks to different students. For example, we can assign the person who will write in each group. It even can be a weaker student who like you want to practice writing more than others. You can assign some people who will find some information on the internet. You can find some people who will be responsible for like checking everything and checking if they have all the necessary things according to the checklist. And also, yeah, when we work online and when our students work in breakout rooms, so we can't be there with them all the time. So we might need some help from other students who will be bosses or like teachers in their group, in their team. So you can assign the boss of the team, and this person will need to make sure all other students are involved and all other students use English. I have tried it with my students and it works nicely, but you need to make sure that they are polite to each other. But if they have good relationships, so that's wonderful. Then put students into groups meaningfully. So it is possible to group, yeah, as you mentioned, weaker students with stronger students because they can balance each other, so they can help each other. Again, you will encourage more peer teaching. So in most groups, we have some students who have conflicts. So we don't want to put the students who have conflicts together. And if you use some online regrouping tools, like random regrouping tools, it's a good idea to use Class Dojo to make groups for project tasks. So if you don't know what this tool is, you can check out some information about it after the webinar. I just want to show you how it works. So that is the tool which you can use. So it is a classroom management tool, and you can use it like to create some random teams or to pick a student who will answer. And if you want to make random groups using this tool, yeah, you choose how many students you want to have in each group, and you can choose the students who you don't want to be together. because you know that they will not do it together. Yeah, and this is saved. So when you make a random group, the students will be grouped like with anybody, but not with each other. And the next thing is set the rules. Again, so you can use a motivation system here. So it is possible to tell your students, like, okay, you can get the like good mark for this project only if everybody in your team works, or only if you use English while communicating to each other. And it is important to tell about these rules, tell the students that you want them to use English, you want everybody to take part, while you are monitoring, make sure they follow the rules. So rules are always important and helpful. Okay, again, if you have more ideas, please share. I will see them, but with a like small delay. Yeah, so as we are talking about group work online, it's in the name of our topic. We will discuss some tools, some useful websites and services which we can use actually to organize the group work online. And I'm sure you know more examples, so please share in the chat which websites you use for creative and project tasks in your lessons. And I will share with you some ideas, some things which I know. Yeah, but you're welcome to add something more. So actually, the first thing which comes to my mind is boards. So you can use different online boards, which are collaborative. It means that different students can edit the same file at the same time, and they will see all the changes. So it's one of the best tools, one of the best ideas for online lessons, for creative tasks in online lessons. And there are like a lot of online boards. One of the simplest ones is Jamboard. So I really like this tool. It is absolutely free. It is a Google service, and it offers not so many features or functions, but it is enough. It is enough for your students to create a presentation or like to create a project when they have to draw, when they have to write, or to add some pictures. And it looks like that. So you will get the document with all these links. I will just very quickly show you how it works. So I'm sure that many of you use this tool, and it's one of my favorite ones. So you can see that there are like not so many icons here, but it is possible to draw. So the students can make pictures. It's possible to add some stickers. Yeah, and you can change the size of them, and you can move them easily. It is possible to insert some pictures, the text. So they can type, they can draw, they can do a lot of things here. They can change the design. If you share this document with your students, they will be able to edit it, and different students will be able to work here at the same time, and they will see all the changes at once, immediately. To do that, you just click share and make sure you change the settings, access settings here. So you need to choose anyone with this link, and you need to choose editor, and it will give them the opportunity to edit. Copy this link, send it to your students. That's it. So they can do it. So one thing that is important to mention, if you use Jamboard, so if your students will use Jamboard using their smartphones, they need to install the app. It is free. If you send this link to your students, when they want to open it, so it will ask them like, please install this app. They just click, they install it, and that's it. So they can edit, they can work with this presentation. It's absolutely free. Yeah, so another one. That is also Miro board. A wonderful board. It has many functions, so it is more complex. Yeah, but so the results can be wonderful. It looks like that. You can see that there are so many things here. Maybe not the best thing for young learners, but for teenagers. So that is really exciting to play with. Again, there are some sticky notes. So you can type, you can draw. You can also insert some charts or diagrams. You can insert a video, which is impossible if you use Jamboard, but here you can insert videos. You can also create QR codes, like a lot of things. But yeah, it is important that in the free version, if you have the free plan, you can create only, I guess, 3 boards. So you can create more, but you can edit only 3 boards at a time. But it is enough because you can use one board for all groups in your class. You can just create like frame 1 for team 1. Then you create another frame somewhere here for team 2 and for team 3. So you don't have to have a separate board for each team. You can just use one board with different sections. And again, you can share it with your students. It works the same as Jamboard, but yeah, so again, your students will need to install the app. It is free, yeah, but they need to have this Miro app to use this board on their smartphones. Yeah, and if they are using their laptops, then they need to sign in. But it's really simple to do. You can just use your Gmail account. And the next one is really similar. It's really similar to Miro. So it's like it is the same company, but it's just a simpler version of Miro, and it is called Web Whiteboard. It looks like almost the same, but you can see that you have fewer functions here, like fewer symbols. Again, you can draw, you can use sticky notes, some shapes, the text, but so this board will be deleted in 24 hours. But if you have a Miro account, so this board can be saved. So you can click here, save to my board, and it will be saved to your Miro account. You will not be able to edit this board, but it will be saved. Or you can just take a screenshot and save it this way. And so here you can see an example. Actually, it's an example of my students. So they had to create a celebrity profile. It was their project after. So we have discussed some vocabulary for personality, career, and appearance, and also clothes. Yeah, so they had to use all their knowledge on those topics and create a celebrity profile. So the students used some sticky notes to insert the text. They also found a picture on the internet, and they could draw to create the design which they liked. And so the age of your students, I guess they were in secondary school. So it is manageable, not only for teens, but for younger students as well. And there is one more wonderful tool, which I really like. That is Classroomscreen. So you can see the name here. But so you can't use this tool for your students to create projects because you can't send the link to your students. They will not see what you have on your board. But you can use this tool to organize the work. Like you can have here some information, like you can put here the checklist, some links, some QR codes, the timer. So it's a wonderful tool for task setting and classroom management. It looks like that. It has a wonderful design, which I really like. There are also so many things here, like you can use a dice or a QR code, like you can insert here any link and the QR code will be automatically generated. So if you want your students to use some websites for this project, you can have it all here. You can also put students in random teams, yeah, using this tool like to group them for a project work. The timer is available here. So that's a cool thing to play with. But you can't just copy this link, send it to your students, and they will see the same what you see if you have a free account. Yeah, but you can use it in another way. Okay, so if you want to share some more examples of words, please. I would be happy to know more, learn something new today. Also, if we ask our students to create presentations, yeah, sure, we can ask them to use PowerPoint, but it's not really collaborative. So they will not like see the changes, and it's not really like the best in terms of the design. No, I like it, I use it, but there are some other tools which I like more, and one of them is Canva. So that is a wonderful website which allows you to create posters and presentations. So you can just click here, like you want to create a presentation, and there are so many templates. So the design is incredible. Like you can use anything you like, and there are so many ideas of the design for the slides. So again, you can insert some pictures, some videos, also animation, diagrams, and after that, you can save it as a PDF file or as a picture, and it is free. Also, there are a lot of other things like sticky notes, GIFs, and so many interesting things to play with. But so again, there is one minus. If you want your students to edit this presentation at the same time and see the changes, you need to pay. You need to buy a premium account. So if you have a free account, you can't do that. But you can ask one of the students, if they work in groups, you can ask one of the students to share his or her screen in the breakout room, and like other students will be able to comment like on what is going on there. And okay, and also one more tool is Google Slides. I love this tool. In some cases more than Canva or PowerPoint, because it is collaborative. So here, it's also a Google service, so it works the same as Jamboard. Yeah, so you can share. Yeah, so you can share it with your students, and they will be able to edit. I often prefer this tool to others because, yeah, so they can edit it at the same time, and they can see all the changes. So that is wonderful. Again, they need to install the app, which is free. Yeah, I've got a question. Is Canva free? Yes, it is free. You can use it for free, but there are some premium features. For example, there are some pictures or there are some designs which you can't use if you have a free account. Or maybe you can use them, but you can't save your presentation after that. But if you choose only 3 elements, and there are a lot of them, it will be free for you, and you can download like your presentation. It's not a problem. Okay. That's it. And one more thing about presentations. So this is a wonderful example. Like the students had to prepare a country profile, and they had to record their audio. They could use the picture, and they could also record the audio, like the description, some information about this place, and so use this audio on the slide. So that was really fun. Like you can. It's not like the project with my students, but I could see other teachers do that, and it works wonderfully. So what do you think about collaborative writing? Like we want our students to write a story together. Like we don't need them to, like we don't want them to draw or to use so many pictures. The design is not that important. So in this case, we can use Google Docs. Again, one more Google service. I will not show you what it looks like because I'm sure you know. Yeah, but so what is cool here, again, you can share it with your students and they can edit this file all at the same time, and they can leave comments and you can leave comments. So if you notice some mistakes, for example, yeah, you can leave a note, you can underline this part and ask them to correct. So if you just need your students to write something together, that might be the best and the easiest thing to use. Yeah, and some other tools. Like one of my favorite ones is Padlet. I'm in love with this website. And you can do so many things with that. It can be used as a classroom management tool, and you can also ask your students to upload their results, like their videos or their like pictures, text, anything. So they can upload videos, they can upload pictures, audios. There are so many things they can do, and it's a good thing, like you to save all project results here in one board. I will show you an example of our green country teacher. Okay, let's go to this one. Yeah, so she created a Padlet board for her group, and she had like a separate section for each student, and also, yeah, it's possible to create like more sections here for groups. Yeah, if your students work in groups, not only for individual ones, but you can collect all their results, like all their projects here in one place. And that is wonderful to create a group profile, or if you have an individual student, you can create like the student profile and you will collect all works of the student in one place. And that is so cool, like to see the progress or to like refer back to some previous works and to see like the results. It really boosts a student's self-esteem because they can see like, oh my gosh, we're so clever, we have done so many fun things together. And when we speak about Padlet, you can create boards like that. There are different formats. So you can create a board with sections like here. You can just share it with your students, and so they don't need to log in, they don't need to have an app. So immediately when they get this link, they can start editing. So they just click here on the plus and they do it. So they can upload a picture, yeah, a video, photo, they can type a text, they can change the design. So do whatever they want. Yeah, and then they will click publish and it will be published. So it will appear here. And other students, so it is wonderful for feedback on content because other students can put reactions, so they can put likes. You can choose some more reactions. You can change it in the settings. Or students can also write comments. Yeah, if you allow them to do that, so they can add comments, and that is like, I don't know, for me it's the best thing for feedback on content if you have some written tasks or written works. If you have a free plan, then you can create, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 5 boards, I guess 5 boards. Yeah, but so that's a cool thing because one board is enough for one group, or even you can have one board for several groups. And after that, like you can save the results, you can save this board on your device. It can be a PDF file or a picture. And after that, you can delete everything from it and change the content completely. Yeah, so you can use this board multiple times for different purposes if you delete everything from here, so it's possible to edit. Also, what else can our students use for their projects? We have mentioned with you, yeah, that it is possible to ask the students to create some games on a particular topic. So it can be a Kahoot, quizzes, or a bamboozle game. Again, so it is a project because the students will get a particular result. It will be the game. It is a project because so the language is not the main focus. The main focus is to get this result, but they have to work with the language, they have to use it, they have to practice it in the freer context to context, right, to get this result. So here I've got an example of a game. It's like about my students, about my group, but it can be any topic. So I will not tell a lot about these tools. I'm sure like you know them. If you don't, if you're not really familiar with them, they're just wonderful tools for online quests. They are interactive, they are fun. There is no collaborative mode, like different students can't edit this game at the same time, but if your students work together and they share their screen, then it is possible for everybody to take part. Yeah, so you will get, again, you will get the document with all the links. You will get the links to these websites as well. So if you don't know them, yeah, just check them out. It is worth it. And one more cool thing, that is meme generator. So a great idea for a project. Ask your students to make some memes on a particular topic. It can even be a grammar topic. It can be a vocabulary topic, but they will need to analyze the language so deeply. They will need to use like so many like analytical skills. So find some more information. And they will be able to generate some memes. Again, you will get a link to this tool. It's really simple to use. Like I'm sure teenagers, even young learners can do that. And it's also very fun to have feedback on content after such projects, because like you can ask the students to other students to comment and to explain like what this meme is about. You can have one example of Green Country students, and I'm really proud of this one. And that's not it. I can see that you say something in the chat, but we haven't finished yet, so 10 or maybe 15 more minutes. So I want to show you some more examples, but not the tools, but I want to show you the results of the project using different tools. So let's use our platform for that. So it's really similar to Tokencloud platform. Actually, like the content is the same. The design will be a little bit different. But here, so in each, not in each lesson, so in each unit, we have some project tasks. So this textbook is for secondary school, and their level is A12. And here you've got such an idea of a project. The topic was about sports, so they had some vocabulary and they had some grammar, so the modal words. And the task is to create their own game using like this, the objects they can see. So I will show you the result. And it's like that. So before the lesson, the teacher created a board, a separate document using Jamboard. It's a Jamboard, you can see it here. There is a separate document for each team. And here, so that is a wonderful idea to include the information on the task setting. So we have discussed with you that a plan and a checklist is important, that the language focus is important. So that's a good idea to put it all here. So the students will be doing the task and they will see what they need to do. So here, there is the information, like which object it's possible to use. So these are just the screenshots from the textbook and some more pictures from the internet. And it says that the students can use as many of them as it is possible, and they can also add their objects if they don't like these ones. The teacher didn't ask the students to cross out the pictures, but they did it just to count how many they use. Also here, they have a plan and a checklist, because again, so they need to do a lot of things. It's very easy to forget some things. So give your students a checklist. It will make your and their life so much easier. Then you can include the language focus here. like the teacher wanted the students to use have to minimum 3 times, don't have to, mustn't, and minimum 6 words from this unit. And also names of the materials, because it was one of the previous topics. So it was not this unit, but the previous one. But so that's wonderful to combine it all together. And the teacher wanted all students to be actively involved. So there were 3 students in this team, like Polina, Boris, Dima, and they had to write down here what each of them was doing. So the students could follow the plan. So they could, they even ticked, like you can see the ticks. So if they do a thing, they tick it. They also used the names of the materials. I don't know why we don't have a tick here. They even circled the models, and they could add their own design, pictures, some pictures from the internet, and yeah, so that is great. I'm really proud, happy with this work. There is also one more thing. So this textbook is for teenagers, can also be used for adults, actually. And the level is 822, as you could see. And the task here was to, to write a recipe. So they learned some cooking words, like cooking actions, also equipment for cooking, and names of the products. And also the grammar focus was to use imperatives and the functional language. So there are a lot of topics in the language focus for this task, because they had also to use phrases to order the instruction. So not only imperatives, but also some other functional language. So it was really complex. It looks really simple, but it is complex. And like that is the result using Miro. So Miro is called for teenagers, and it's more fun than Jamboard in some cases. And again, so here you can see the instruction, not the instruction, the checklist. Again, what they need to include, what they need to use, and rules. So because they're teenagers, we know that they are lazy. So the rules for everybody is working and use English only. And they will get minus countries. So that is a motivation system in green country, but you can use your motivation system. It can be about marks or like anything that motivates your learners. And also here you can see some help. So they need to use imperatives. And also it's not included here, but they also had to use the structures to order instructions, and these structures are here. So some teachers say that it's not a good idea like to include such tables for 3 practice tasks because it will not be 3. But if you want to pay like extra attention of your students to these particular structures they need to use, like I don't see a problem in that. So actually that is possible also to add some information, maybe also a vocabulary list or something. And for this task, the students were also randomly given. So it was fun because they were randomly given some products and some tools, cooking equipment, which they had to use in one recipe. And there are some links here. That is the link. Like they were they were actually 2 groups. Some random items, and they could say like they know, okay, we are group 1, so we need to use like so we can see like 2 different results. It reflects the personality, the style of the students, and that is fun. So that's what we got. And also like one more option for this task. That is to create a video. So again, if we come back to this task, we can use some collaborative boards for students to do that, or also call to ask the students to make a video of a recipe. And I have got like one video here. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you because it will be lagging, but I will show maybe some parts of it. So a student made it like herself. using English. And so there is her voice on the background, and that is super cool. So also, why not to ask your students make the video, a video presentation? And like the last example, which I'll show you, that is also for teenagers. That was like research the information about dieting trends and make a presentation. And they also had, so here you can see in the instruction that we don't have so much information. So that is the task for the teacher to prepare it. Yeah, so you yourself think what is the language focus. So the task does not limit you. So you need to do it yourself. You need to prepare all other things which are not given. But if you give this instruction to your students, definitely it is not enough. Yeah, and the students used Canva or Canva, I'm not sure, like to create this project. It is beautiful, it is wonderful. They had to find some information and they were calculating something because like they wanted to use the diagrams. Also super cool and super manageable. Yeah, and actually, that's it speaking about projects. Yeah, we have discussed it with you already. Yep, and so I have shown you some examples from the textbooks, from the materials which are used for the project that is called Tokencloud. So I think you already know about it. Yeah, and just a couple of words about it. So Tokencloud, that is an online platform for teaching English, and it offers a learning management system. So it's not just a textbook or like an online platform with some tasks, but it is a learning management system which you can use to organize the work with your students. And it includes completed leveled language programs. So you can work with different age levels and with different levels of English. So what it offers for teachers, you can get a teacher's pack. So you will get interactive workbooks for different levels, also some extra materials, the testing system, yeah, and learning management system tools. So you can create your groups, you can create your own schedule, you can check students' work, so track their progress, and also you can get the access to teacher training center materials. So they include some webinars, training sessions, so you will get access to this library. And your students will get the opportunity to improve the English learning in an interactive way. So they will get interactive, the access to interactive tasks on the platform, like the complete course, not just some tasks. They will be able to complete some tests online and you will see the results. They will get the feedback from teachers. And there are also some extra materials. The topics are up to date because, yeah, so they are updated regularly. And if you are interested, if you want to find out more about it, so we invite you to a presentation. And after this presentation, which will be on the 22nd of June, so you can scan this QR code and you will see the registration form to this presentation. After the presentation, you will get a demo access. Yeah, so if you register and if you attend so the webinar. Okay, so I'll give you 30 seconds to scan the code. Again, you will get the link to this registration form as well. Yeah. And so that's it. We will be summing up. So the last thing I want you to do is to scan this QR code. And you will have a small task there because like we were talking a lot about feedback, so I want to get the feedback. Please scan this QR code. I will show it again in a second. And you will be asked to answer some questions. So you will type the answers, what was useful for you today, and what you would like to use in the future. So it's all about project tasks, surely. So please scan the code and type your ideas. And while you are doing that, you can also think about the questions you have to me, if you have any, and you can also put them to the chat. I will see them and I will be able to answer. So please scan the code, type your answers, type your ideas. So you will see like only 2 questions on the page. So you can type your answer and click submit. And we will see it all. I hope that the internet will not be lagging. Okay, so we'll be waiting for your ideas. Okay, I guess that like I need to show this QR code for a bit longer. Okay, yeah, you can also put your ideas to the chat. Why not? But it would be nice to collect like all your answers in one place. Okay, yeah. Oh, so more answers. Hi, Peter. I'm sorry if you did not have enough time, like to scan the code. Then you can just put your ideas to the chat. Yeah, so I'm happy that you will use Canva and Jamboard Miro. Thank you to interactive platforms. Yeah, you will get all the links. The platforms. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And we can't go, like, can see there. Oh, we can. Yeah, so Mentimeter, by the way, one more cool tool for your lessons. So if you don't know it, just check it out. That is the name, Mentimeter. Give it a choice. Okay, so thanks a lot. So yeah, if some answers appear a bit later, I will definitely see them and read, and it's really important for me to get your feedback. Thank you so much. Now, I want to say thank you again for spending so much time with me today. So the last thing I wanted to say, like when we speak about projects, we often underestimate our students and ourselves because we can think like that this task is too difficult for my students, they will never do it. But if you try, you might be surprised with the results. Or you might think that you are like you will not be able to set this task in a proper way. But if you try, again, you might understand that you can do more than you think, and your students can do more than you expect from them. So thanks again. Thank you for taking the active part and sharing your ideas in the chat. If you have any questions, please put them to the chat and I will answer. So I've got a question. Після минулого вебінару не знайшла контрольного питання. Okay, I think I can stop sharing the screen. І не змогла видрукувати сертифікат. Що вам потрібно зробити? Вам потрібно перейти у відео попереднього вебінару. В описі відео є тест. Вам потрібно перейти за цим посиланням під описом вебінара і набрати мінімум 75 балів. Тоді ви отримаєте сертифікат. Якщо будуть питання, напишіть нам на електронну пошту, якщо вам так і не буде генеруватись. So the next question, will it be possible to get the materials of your presentation? Yes. So you will get a small, like not really small, an article in which you will get all the information which we discussed with you today. You will get all the links, like to the website. Yeah. and you will see the link to the test. So you will get an email with the links, or if you don't get this email or you can't find it, it will be in the description under the video on YouTube. So in the description box, you will get all these links. So the next question is, one more thing, yes, so in the letter, so you will get a letter to your email, and you will also get a link to demo access to Tokencloud. So one more link there. Is Canva free? Yeah, also we have discussed it. It is, but not all features. And the last question, will we get a certificate of this webinar? Yes, you will. So once again, you will get a link to a test. You need to pass it. You need to get minimum 75 points. And you will get a certificate. You will get the link to your email address, and it will also appear under this video when we finish. Okay, so I can't see any other questions. So I guess that we can finish. So where is the test? You will get an email with the link, and under this video it will also appear. Okay. So thank you so much. Then I will not keep you longer here. Have a wonderful Friday evening. Have a wonderful weekend, so I hope that you are inspired to use creative tasks for your lessons in the future. So thanks a lot. Goodbye.